All right, so we are vertical on YouTube now. If y'all want to catch me on the vertical stream, come join in over there. Help me wrangle in the artists. AI Playground says I draw out my characters and storyboards and then animate it with AI. Well, that's very cool. I'd love to see your drawings. That's the closest I get to real art. You AI generation, can I ban him because generative AI is one of the worst types of art theft? Well, I would say instead of banning him, Flag, let's try to bring him over to our side. Let's recruit him instead of banning him. Let's transition him. Let's recruit him. Let's kill him with kindness. Let's give that a shot. And if that doesn't work, then we'll talk about it. Also, Flag, are you a moderator over here on YouTube? Gorillas dressed as cops doesn't feel like stealing, but hey. All right, well, you're on touchy ground in an art community, my guy. But you're welcome here. What's up, loves? How you been? Welcome back. Welcome back. What's new? What you working on? Anything creative? Anything artistic? How was your day? Let's get this chat popped out. Love the video. Oh, thanks. Well, be sure to subscribe to the channel, Playground. I'd appreciate it. All right, let's get to drawing, y'all. What time is it? We gotta set at 5:20. Hey Siri, 1 hour.
1 hour, starting now.
All right, let's get cracking. I see it because what you do is AI. Because what you do. Oh, that's nice of you to kind of talk about the difference. There's still some qualms there, but it is what it is. All right, let's go. I'll tell you what's not AI is this right here. One day AI is gonna figure out how to study my YouTube videos and do the same thing, but not yet. Till then, this is a hard one. Soft one. I hate this piece of charcoal. All right. Whoa! Almost dropped it. All right. So as you can tell when I'm drawing like this, I'm not being too critical of any of the lines. I like to think that each singular line doesn't really matter. It's the teamwork of all the lines together that really makes the drawing come together. Ouch. We'll be using just enough lines so we can kind of get an idea of an image there. What's up, Hacker Prime? What's up, Isam? How are you doing today? Flag says tons of water, which could be used as... Oh, she's fine for... When you're inspired by pieces of art, do you not, in a way, imitate their style of that? Yeah. AI is a bit fascist. What's up, Myrna? How are you? You're from India? All the way from India, huh, Hacker Prime? Well, welcome to you from India. Alright, so here what we're doing is I'm not trying to judge myself too much. So many parts of your life, you're hard on yourself and you judge yourself. So when we're doing art, we're going to kind of like actively make a choice not to kind of be too judgmental on ourselves. And also it's fun to be surprised at the end of a piece of art, where when you start to draw or you start to write or you start to do anything creative, you have this part of your brain that we can call the editor that's constantly telling you that the line you drew or the words you write or the voice you have is not quite right and that you shouldn't move forward and that you should stop on your first line or your first word. But I would encourage you to just kind of silence that voice, silence that editor in your mind, and just focus on drawing lines that are fun to draw and actively silencing that editor in your mind that's always judging every single step you take. And over time, you get better at silencing that kind of internal editor, and you can just create and have a nice time. And then when you're done creating, if you want to look back at your piece of art and now let your editor get in there and make some decisions, I think that's a pretty good decision too. But the first thing you want to do is give yourself some grace and give yourself a little running room to make some mistakes and just have fun. Scribble on a sheet of paper. Maybe you're scribbling lines. Maybe you're writing a poem, you know. But I think try to give yourself a chance to just have fun and don't judge your drawing, you know. Just have fun. I think you'll get a long way if you're having fun when you're doing the work. I think people will have fun when they look at it. Boom. All right, that's number one. What's up, Myrna? What's up, Rose is back. Welcome back, Rosie. How are you today? All right, so here's drawing number one. What do you think? For all the new normies in the chat, be sure and like and subscribe. If you liked the stream, we get more people to come hang out with us. Be sure and subscribe to the YouTube channel, please. Let's look at some details. What's up, Raph? I see. What's with the all caps? There we go. How do you not get super frustrated when things aren't moving forward? Because that's my problem. Mama Buckle asks in the chat. His name is Raph. Well, that's a wonderful question, Raph. Well, here's the thing. How do you get better at anything? How do you get better at anything is the question. It's not how do you get better at getting through frustration? How do you not stop? How do you get better at anything? Because it's the same answer, you know? It's practice. You know, your empathy for yourself, the learning that frustration is really just a precursor to a breakthrough. You know, when you feel that frustration feeling, we for some reason have an instinct to think that frustration is negative. And frustration can be negative, but frustration is just energy. And frustration is a way for your brain to say, I'm about to have a breakthrough. Something new is about to happen. I'm about to learn something I didn't know before. And that's what frustration feels like. So when you feel frustration, let a light bulb go off in your brain that says, aha, we're about to get somewhere new. So first thing is teaching yourself that frustration isn't a stop sign. Frustration is a green light. Okay. Number two is not judging yourself from the start. You have to separate that part of your brain that's an editor and that part of your brain that's creating. Okay. And they both have valid places. But when we're doing this exercise, when we're making this kind of art, if you're writing poetry, if you're looking for this kind of urgent type of work, you have to practice giving yourself some grace. You have to practice allowing yourself to make mistakes and not thinking that frustration or mistakes are bad. Frustration and mistakes are opportunity for you to find an organic voice. If you stack up your mistakes, you end up with a style, you know? Even for videos are made by human others. An imperfection is what makes video, photo, or anything else beautiful. Yes, exactly. Exactly. You know, that's the thing, is like every mistake you make, all the frustration, all the things that are imperfections, when those things stack up, that's your voice. That's what your art looks like. A culmination of the mistakes only you can make. So if you craft out every one of those mistakes, then you may not have your voice at the end, you know? Rosie says, I'm doing a lot better. I sent stuff to the art channel on the Discord. We'll check it out at the end. We do a stream after party on Twitch. We'll check it out there, Rosie. I'm your new subscriber, bro. Well, welcome to the community, Hacker Prime. Love to hear it. What time is it in my country? About 6 p.m. Okay, so we're gonna do the same thing. And here's what we're doing. I'm gonna talk you through the whole process. And when I'm doing this, it's not just drawing. I want you to keep this in mind for all the artwork you make. You know, it's not just writing. Oh, boy. Yeah, I use these clamps. All right, so check this out. So I'm using two hands here, and I'm using two hands because it forces me to kind of let go of control. It forces me to kind of not know where I'm gonna go. And I'm gonna draw kind of slow right now so I can talk. So what happens is I'm constantly telling myself like that's the wrong place. That's not where the lines go. You need to stop. Your left hand is not as strong as your right hand. But I'm also actively like meditating in a way where I'm not using the direct vision of my eyes. I'm kind of using the peripheral vision. You know, in a way, I'm disconnecting myself from the drawing. I'm even holding the pencils in a way that's not very comfortable or that I'm used to. So that when the drawing comes out, if it's bad, I have an excuse to say, I drew it bad on purpose. You know, the idea of the drawing wasn't to make something beautiful. And I'm doing a drawing now, but I want you to think about that like if you're making films or if you're making poetry or if you're just living life. Like, you don't get to be comfortable all the time. You don't get to have control all the time. So if you can do little sketches like this where you learn to work in a place where you don't have control, where you don't have everything perfect, where you don't get to go back and fix every mistake. You know, there's something in that uncomfort that is much like life is every day. You know, you don't get to feel comfortable every moment of every day of your life. And you know, if you can do work like this and you can learn to give yourself some grace, not be hard on yourself, allow yourself to make mistakes in a way where they're not mistakes, they're creative, expressive moments. You know, over time, when you get into your life, you start to realize that so much of your life is the same way, and that you can learn to function in a world where you don't have control all the time. Just like you can learn to function within a piece of art that you don't control all the time. And I think those lessons are important in all aspects of our life and in many different aspects of art. You know, so like if I can scribble on a sheet of paper with no hands, and over time I can train the muscle and the creativity in my brain to just kind of do its job and tell my editor, tell the person in my mind that judges me to take a seat, tell the part of my brain that says you have to control everything, that now's not the time. And you start to be able to really like find your voice, and you start to really be able to function as an artist in a world where you don't have control all the time. And I think you can take that lesson just as a human being into life, where even though you don't have control of every circumstance in your life, of every art form in your life, over time, if you exercise that part of your brain, you can still succeed when you don't have all that control. You can still feel proud. You can still function at your highest, even though you've let go of a little bit of control. You don't know what the outcome's gonna be. And in the end, you end up with a great creative product. It might even be better than the creative decisions you would have made consciously. Some of these subconscious decisions can really take art to that next level, you know? And it starts with allowing yourself to make mistakes, giving yourself some grace, not being hard on yourself, apologizing to yourself and saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I was judging you before I even allowed you to get through your thought or get through your creative impetus," you know? And I think that's a lesson you can take into life when you start stepping on other creative uh, um, friends' input, you know. And these are lessons just from you could learn from just drawing in a room all by yourself, you know. Food Wa says boxing that mug, scrapping that canvas, dancing that lean with it, rock with it. He's just spitting here, bars. Amelia, I'm sorry, you're back. Amelia, how have you been? Y'all, if you're new to the chat, be sure and like the chat, subscribe to the channel. I'd appreciate it. I think we just finished a sketchbook, y'all. That's a full sketchbook. Before we move on to the new sketchbook, let's take a look at some of these drawings. Y'all, I go through about a sketchbook a week at this point. All right, y'all want to take a look at some of the sketches real quick? Keep your eyes peeled because I'm going to move fast. Amelia Bedelia. You know, and some of these I really love, and some of these aren't my favorite, but honestly, like, I don't really even remember drawing some of them. You know, I draw so many of them, and I draw them so fast that I kind of just get to look back at them and maybe just pick my favorite ones. And I think as an artist, that gives you like an extra special opportunity to like have hindsight, look back at your body of work and decide what pieces you like best rather than like having to choose your favorite pieces of art. You know, sometimes you just look back at it and say, okay, I think I like these pieces best. So many of them. All right, that's enough. My arm's getting tired. All right, let's crack open another one. I hope that wasn't my last one. No. All right, y'all check it out. Here's the fun. Cracking open a brand new one. All right. So let's hop into this. So let's do this again. Raphael, you still here with us? E-Hall. Turner Places. Flag's still getting at him. I'm glad to see y'all chatting. All right, what's going on with our chat here? All right, here we go. Let's go again. Y'all want to do another face? And then we'll do some figures again. You know, so again, let's give up control. You know, let's be a little uncomfortable. Let's take ourselves out of our comfort zone. Let's learn not to judge ourselves, not to be hard on ourselves. There's so many parts of our lives and so many areas in our lives where it's time to be critical. It's time to be hard on ourselves. And in art, you don't have to do that. And sometimes you can excel as an artist by actively not doing that. So try to kind of just relax and give yourself some grace to just have a little bit of fun and see what happens. At the end of it, you can throw it away if you don't like it, you know. You've been creating art by trying to make it perfect and making it realistic, and that's not fun sometimes. Learn to have fun making art and then worry about making it realistic, you know? And also there's something important about conflict in your life, you know? If you're having conflict, you know, and there's something about art that we as humans fall to when we feel bad. We want to make art or we want to see art. We want to lock into films when we feel bad. We want to listen to our favorite songs. We want to look at art or write art or make films. And for some reason it's connected to big emotions. So when you're consuming art or when you're deciding what art to consume because of where your emotions are at, I want you to remember that when you're making art. I want you to take those emotions that you're having and put it into your artwork. So if you have a conflict at work, or you have a conflict at school, or you have a conflict with your parents, you might have a conflict with your best friend, and some of the worst conflicts we deal with day to day are just within ourselves. You know, maybe you're dealing with like a bad mental health day, or you're dealing with a bad physical health day, you know, and just like you retreat to your favorite art as a consumer, as an audience member, you can also express yourself through your art as a creator. So when you're having a shitty day and you're dealing with conflict, you know, whether it's from school or from your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your husband or your wife, or it's school or it's work, whatever it is, I want you to remember that you can exercise this muscle, that when you start to create art, not only are you learning not to be overly critical of yourself when it doesn't matter, not only are you learning what parts and what lines and what it feels like to not have to control everything all the time, but you also can actively take all this negativity and all this negative emotions that you might be dealing with in life, all your conflicts, whether you're dealing with conflicts at school or at work or just whatever yourself, you can put that into your work, you know? Hi, Nicole. Welcome to the chat. Be sure to like the chat if you're just getting here, like the stream, so we can build the community, and also subscribe to the channel. You know, don't forget that when you're making art, when you're writing or you're drawing or you're making music, don't don't forget that you're not just making a pretty picture. You're not making just a finished product. That there's a process in making art, okay? And that process allows you to vent your feelings. You know, if you're having a bad day, or you're dealing with conflict within yourself, your mental health, your physical health, well, when you sit down to make art, express yourself, express those conflicts in your art. You know, write a song about those conflicts, write a movie about those conflicts, create a painting about those conflicts. You can take all that negativity, all that negative energy that life gives you, that stacks up in your life, and you can express it through your pieces of art. And that activity of taking this negativity and this conflict in your life and transforming it into something positive is a fucking superpower. You know, we're lucky as humans that we get that gift, and that we can use that talent to transform negative energy into positive energy. And over time, if everybody's taking all the conflicts and all the negativity in their life, and they're transforming it into something positive by expressing themselves, then we are literally one person at a time making the world better. Literally, like just take the negativity in your life, the conflicts, and transform them into a beautiful song, into a beautiful piece of art. Transform them into an ugly piece of art. Transform them into an ugly song. But take that negativity and transform it. And that's a fucking superpower. And all of you have that superpower. And the thing about exercising that part of your brain that allows you to give yourself grace, that allows you to apologize to yourself, that allows you to create without judging yourself every moment. It allows you to live life that same way. It allows you to create life in a way where you're not judging yourself every moment. It allows you to love people and love life in a way where you don't have to be so judgmental of yourself and everything. So by just creating art in this fashion, you can carry over that positivity into so many other parts of your life. And that's a fucking superpower. And I think the root of what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, when all these conflicts pile up on your shoulders, when all these conflicts from school, from work, from husband, from wife, from girlfriend, from mental health, from physical health, when it all piles up, don't take it out on your friends. Don't take it out on your family. Don't take it out on your community. Don't take it out on yourself. Don't take it out on yourself. Don't take it out on yourself. Take it out on art. You know, write a story about it. Draw a picture about it. Write a song about it. Make a movie about it. But when all of that stuff really, really builds up, you have this wonderful way to express it and to change that negativity into something positive. And when you do that, you create a permission structure for other artists and other humans to do the same thing, you know? And that's what inspiration is. That's what inspiration is. That's how you inspire somebody. You take that negative feelings, you take those negative conflicts you're dealing with in life, and you create some art out of those negative feelings, and that becomes positivity. And when people see that, they think, holy shit, I can do that. I never thought that I could do that. And then they go and do it. And that's what inspiration is. That's how you inspire somebody. That's how you be inspired. That's how you share those things. So I encourage you to do that. When you're working, give yourself a little bit of grace to color outside the lines. Color right off the fucking page. It doesn't matter. It's just art. There's so many parts of our lives that you can't color outside the lines. And art is one of those things where you get to decide where their lines are, if there are even lines. All right, let me catch up with the chat. What's up, Nicole? What's up, Chicken Nugget? Welcome back, Gabriel. I definitely welcome here, as long as Gabriel says, however, if I sound aggressive, I will continue to push for people. Yeah, Flag is definitely going to be a little brash, my dude, but you're definitely welcome here. But she is the mod god. I will say she's setting a standard of how we feel about generative AI art. But you know, as an individual, Playground, we love you. Be here. You're important. The world's a better place because you're in it, my guy. Don't forget that. And again, Flag, welcome him here. Kill him with kindness. We don't want to ban him. We want to convert him. Kindness is the kind of guy rather than be aggressive in order to listen. Yeah, Flag has a bit of her own style. All right, Golden Chicken Nugget wants a dinosaur. What time is it? We got 30 more minutes. Gabriel, we'll definitely do a dinosaur. We've done a dinosaur before, by the way. Rosie, how you been? How's life? How's art? How have you been dealing with the loss and everything? How's your mom and your brother and things? Let's do another jazz musician. Does anybody have any more requests? I got a request for a dinosaur. It's okay. Just do you, Rosie. You can be in and out as you need. I'm just looking for some jazz guitar pictures that I haven't already drawn. That one looks pretty cool. Let's try this one. Okay, so I'm gonna play the same game here, but instead of drawing faces, we're gonna draw a guitarist. And there's something else in this phenomenon. Raph, you still there with us? Sound like Gabriel. She should stream. They should stream. So far it's been good. Mama's doing good. Both of the brothers are doing good. Just been busy. Well, busy's usually good. Raph, you still here with us? Let me get some water. Y'all hanging out with us. Be sure you're staying hydrated out there. Be sure you've liked the stream and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're trying to get to 600 subs. We're trying to go to 1,000 subs, but one bite at a time, am I right? Oh shit, treat yourself, Rosie. You got your nails did, huh? I love it. So Raph, yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit more about this process. All right, so let's try this again. So I'm going to start drawing with two hands again, and I am looking at a picture here on the internet. But I'm talking about drawing, but I'd like to think that it kind of applies to all kinds of art. So like I'm focusing on my lines here and not necessarily focusing on the composition or where everything's perfect. And I think you can make films, or you can write poetry, or you can even live life that way, where sometimes you got to know like when to have the direct intention creatively, and sometimes when to allow the audience to have to do some of the work, so like for example, Raf, if you look at a cloud, and maybe you've heard me say this before, when you look at a cloud and somebody sees a dinosaur in a cloud, who is the artist there? Who's the artist that created the dinosaur in that cloud? Also, chat, when you can tell what I'm drawing, say it in the chat. When you see it, let me know. So, Raph, when you see it, when you see an image in the clouds, who is the artist that has created that image? And look, I'm gonna put some fingers here. I'm gonna put some fingers here, and I'm not even judging like how wonderful these fingers are. I just want to use lines that feel like I'm writing a signature. Well, I think if Raph said God's the artist. I think the artist is the imagination of the viewer. If you see the dinosaur in the clouds, well then you're the artist. Okay? And even though right now I'm the one putting the lines on the sheet of paper, I'm asking myself like what's the smallest amount of lines can I put on the paper, or how wild lines can I put and still allow the audience to see that dinosaur in the clouds. Like if you define the drawing too much, if you define the art too much, if you define the film or these different parts of whatever your art, you don't give the audience the opportunity to see like that dinosaur in the clouds. So think of a film like film work by someone like David Lynch, where David Lynch will perfectly leave open holes, or let his subconscious make some decisions, so he doesn't really know what the outcome's going to be either. He doesn't exactly know how things are going to fall together, and him as well as the audience, they get to kind of discover the film for the first time together, and he might say, hey, I didn't actively seek out to make that decision, but in hindsight, me and the audience kind of have interpreted that decision in this way. And if you're not working constantly to give yourself permission to make mistakes, then you'll never be able to harvest those happy accidents. You'll never be able to find the God in your work. And when I say God, I mean more like you'll never be able to find, the inspiration, the inspired creativity. So like if you do just enough work that the art is still there, but you give the audience so much running room to kind of interpret it in their own way, in a way you're putting the universe back into your work. You're putting God back into your work. And I don't mean capital God. I mean like the universe. You're putting the audience, you're putting the viewer into your work by putting sloppy subconscious work into your drawing. I think in that way you allow the audience to be participating, in a way, like it's it's like magic, and you can only reveal the magic tricks by haphazardly subconsciously putting some things down. And just like when I asked who creates the art in the clouds that you see, and the debate was, is it God or is it the viewer? And the answer is both. And if you can create work in that way, then you the answer is also, at the end of the day, you're collaborating with the viewers. You're collaborating with the creator. You're collaborating with universe. All we are as humans is the universe witnessing itself. My problem is I'm I let myself to let myself be imperfect with it, and that's to be a huge complaint among people I trust about my work. Let me read that. Hit me with that again. You said that my problem is that I'm too abstract though. I like to let myself be imperfect with it, and that's been a huge complaint among people I trust about my work. Explain that to me again. Talk to me again about that, Raph. I don't quite understand that. Gabriel has named him Jason. Well, thank you. You know what? I think I'm gonna leave this guy as is. I'm not gonna overwork it. Like sometimes I go through a couple steps, but I kind of like the way this one came out like this. I'm just gonna leave it like that. Here, let's look at some close-ups. You know? Let's do another one. Oh, that's what this stream's for, though. That's what this stream's for. People are complaining it's too abstract. Oh, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Well, you have to take people along for a ride with you. And here's the things, Raph. Here's the answer. Check this out. This is the problem. I'm gonna show you right now, and it takes practice. You can't do it your first time. I draw 20 of these faces every single week. Okay, and here's the thing: you can't set out to be abstract. You don't set out to not draw a face. You don't set out to make a confusing film, okay? You set out to put your emotions and your self-expression first. You set out to allow the audience to participate in the film. If the audience is confused or the audience doesn't see the face, I didn't get there. I crumble up that sheet of paper and I start over, and that's okay. So for example, check this out. Do you see a face yet? Do you see a face yet, Raph? No, we don't see a face yet. That's because I haven't succeeded yet. We haven't got there yet. I didn't give the audience the right amount of information yet. You know, you got to keep going. And it's like, okay, do we see a face there? You know? What's up, Caesar? Welcome back. How you been? Always love having you in the chat. Y'all be sure and like the stream and subscribe. But you see what I'm saying? Like Raph, like right now, if I tried to give some of these pictures, like some of my first ones, like the audience is gonna say, hey Gabriel, I don't see the face, or I'm confused about what you're doing. So then I have to go back and I have to try again. I have to draw another face. I have to try a different set of lines. And over time, I've trained myself to know exactly what lines are important and what lines aren't, what rules can be broken and what rules can't be broken. But I think like you can't set out to be confusing. You don't set out to be abstract. You need to set out to express your emotions. But I'm still following some rules here. I'm following expression. I'm following my emotions, you know, but I'm also meeting the audience halfway. I don't want them to be confused. I want them to be able to see what I'm seeing and feel and hear what I'm feeling. But also, I don't want to do too much. Just meet them halfway. And that doesn't mean don't give the audience all the information. That doesn't mean don't allow the audience to see the face, or don't allow the audience to understand the point, or don't keep it vague on purpose. It's not that it's vague, it's just how little amount of lines can I put down and the audience still get the point, you know? And it's the same thing with your filmmaking. Like, how much of the film do you have to put in there before people understand? And if they don't understand, you have to keep trying. You have to keep putting more lines down. You have to keep putting more shadows in until finally you're like, oh, it makes sense. And then over time, you start to practice and you start to realize what lines matter, what lines don't matter. And then when you start making your film and you want to be vague or abstract, or you want to try to break some rules, you'll be able to do it in a way that's practiced and crafted, where you're like, I know that some rules I can break, some rules I can't break. When I'm breaking rules, am I expressing myself fully? And also, is the art audience able to see the dinosaur in the clouds with me? And if the audience can't see the dinosaur in the clouds, then you just got to keep tweaking it. You know, you just got to keep slinging different ideas at the wall until one of them works. And when it works, you repeat it, you reiterate it. So if you're just putting stuff down and trying to see abstractly what falls together, make note of what works and what doesn't work. Reiterate the moments that are working and discard the things that aren't working. You know, a good bit of advice I got was don't stick to mistakes just because you spend a lot of time on them. You know, learn when to kind of cut your losses and realize maybe I've made a bunch of mistakes, and instead of like plowing through or keeping these mistakes because I spent time on them, what if I just let them go and I treat those mistakes as lessons I've learned instead of time I've lost, you know? Anyway, Raph, thanks for letting me chat to you. It makes it a lot easier when I have a person to chat with. Well, thanks, Mom. He says you're a genius. Seriously. Okay, I don't know if that's the case, but I appreciate you. I appreciate you saying that. And here's the thing. There's another thing I learned about filmmaking is like ambiguity. When we first start telling stories, or we first start making songs or poetry or drawing pictures, we think abstract, or we think ambiguity. We think that means no answer. We think that means don't give them the truth. Don't give them the meaning. But that's not what abstract, that's not what ambiguity means. Especially ambiguity in filmmaking. It means give them multiple answers. So if people are watching your film, Raph, and they're unable to kind of put the whole storyline together, if you want to have that abstract kind of feeling, it's not the answer of giving them not enough information. The answer is giving them multiple options of information. Like, I drew this picture and I scribbled it in so many different ways that multiple people are going to see the picture in different ways. Like, is this an ear here? You know? Like, I don't know. Like, everybody will be able to kind of see different things in different ways. But it's not that I didn't tell the story of a face. I just told it in a million different ways all at once, you know? And I only did the bare minimum that needs to be done so it doesn't get overly confusing. And again, every line that I drew, I did in an expressive way. You know, so at the end of the day, even if I did make a mistake or I didn't get the face that I wanted, I've learned lessons. I've expressed myself. I've become a better person, you know. But I think, you know, in a lesson for filmmaking, the confused audience says no. So abstraction, self-expression, that doesn't mean confusion. You need to have a clear self-expression, clear intention, you know, a clear creative point of view. What's up, Assist Videos? Welcome to the chat. So when you're making work, the audience is the medium. So if the audience is confused, if the audience isn't reading the work, it's like your guitar's not sounding right, you know? The audience is the medium, you know? But you can work within those parameters. All right, what time is it? 4:45? All right, let's do another one. All right, so check this out. We got a request for a dinosaur. This one goes out to Golden Chicken Nugget, also known as Gabriel. Thanks for the request. Caesar says, Bob Ross says mistakes can be happy mistakes. Hell yeah, they can. All right, Golden Nugget Gabriel has been here for for a few of these live sessions with us. You said you wanted a T-Rex? Right? All right, let's hope I don't ruin this. All right, can't say I've drawn a dinosaur in some time, but let's see what happens. Oh, listen to your boy. Don't worry, trust the process. Oh shit, the student has become the master. Oh shit, that's funny. Okay, let's give it a shot. You're right though. Let's do it. And again, like I'm going out on a limb here. Like I'm not sure how this is gonna turn out, and that's the magic. I'm not sure how this turn is gonna turn out. Neither do you. I didn't set out with the goal to have the perfect dinosaur. I don't know what the dinosaur is gonna look like, but it's gonna come together as the art does. And if you can, as soon as you see it, be sure you tell me in the chat that you see it. Almost looks like Venom. All right. We are Venom. This is tough. But also, like, Gabriel, if it seems confusing, Golden Nugget's name is also Gabriel. Fire already. Alright, something like that. And let's do this. Something like that. Alright, that's not too bad of a start, huh? It already kind of looks like a T-Rex. You know, but I'm like Golden Nugget said, you just gotta kind of trust the process. Alright, let's find some shadows here. Hey, kitty man. Oh, you need some food, huh? Alright, give me 1 second, sweet boy. Alright, so I'm just finding some shadows, you know, and I'm trusting the reference here too, you know. Like Raph, that's another thing that helps in the creative process is like finding some references and like sticking to your references sometimes. Knowing when to stick to the reference and when to break from the reference, you know. And I think some of that just takes a little bit of trial and error, you know. So like if you start to not understand why your project isn't getting the message across perfectly, or why it's not being interpretedly perfect, you know, you can go to a reference. What did your reference do differently? What could you do differently? You know, and kind of look for answers in references. And right now, as I'm working off a reference of a picture of a dinosaur. And when I kind of feel like I found it and I'm having fun, I don't even look to the picture anymore. And when I start to feel confused and I don't quite know where to go, then I look back to my reference. And I think maybe that's something that can help in life, in music and filmmaking and writing and poetry, is like find your references, find your touch points. Like, what are the films that speak to you? What is the drawing? What is the photo that you're looking at for reference? What is the film that you're referencing? If you're writing poetry, like, who is your favorite poet, and what are they doing? What kind of decisions are they making? And can you make similar decisions? And in this kind of process, like, I'm looking at a reference photo, but like every different artwork kind of requires different rules and different tools and different setups. And I think that, like, your reference can save you. You know, so like if you're having trouble finding the voice of your film, find the reference and work with the reference to figure out how they were able to get their message across through all the madness, you know. Because right now, like, as I'm getting lost, or I'm starting to like feel less confident in how the drawing might be coming together, I just look at my reference and all my confidence comes back because I just have to draw what's on the picture, you know? And I think there's some comfort in having a reference, you know? So you don't put all the pressure on yourself. And there's some, you know, million different ways to relieve the pressure from yourself. And one of those is relying on a reference, blaming the reference, working through with the reference. Okay, what do we think? Is it starting to look like a dinosaur? Does that look like a T-Rex? Okay, let's bring out these teeth. Let's find some more highlights. Okay, where are our highlights at our reference here? So like these teeth. Let's have some nice shiny teeth. Something like that. Is that working? Gotta admit, Golden Nugget, it's a pretty tough request for a fine artist. Oh, a dinosaur. But, you know, trust the process, see what happens. Okay. Something like that. You know, and every opportunity I go back and put another line is another opportunity to kind of fix something, to kind of do something better than I did the first time, you know? And I think all those little opportunities to do something again, to try something a different way, when they start to stack up, all those little mistakes become a signature, you know? They become your signature style. Okay, so let's kind of lean. Let's get this arm here to pop out a little more. This here, something like that. Okay, and then what I want to do is like really give him an eye to focus on, something like that. You know, I don't know all the exact dinosaur anatomy, but how close can we get? All right, let's put a little shine in his eye. What do we think? Is that a dinosaur enough for you, Gabriel? Nice dino roar. I see a cloud. Flag says she sees it because she sees all. It's part of that binary god complex. Sunlip, what up? Welcome back. How you doing? Yeah, I drew a dino. What do y'all think? We did a dinosaur. It was a request by everybody. Thank Golden Chicken Nugget Gabriel for the request. Didn't you say it was your birthday recently, Golden Nugget? Here we go. Here's some close-ups of the dinosaur. What did y'all think? Gotta admit, I was pretty afraid going in on that dinosaur. But, you know, when Gabriel told me to trust the process, that's what I did. What I did. Very rizful dino. Can I eat it? Well, you can do what you want. Never mind, my girlfriend tells me I'm blind. Oh no, are you blind? I've seen your art, Flag. You're not blind. You could be omnipotent. Everybody, get you a sip of some agua. All right, we're gonna do one more drawing. Do y'all want to do a musician or do we want to do a face? Let me know in the chat. A musician or a face? Let's do a face. See you, Mama. Thanks for hanging out, Raph. Raph, buddy, if you haven't heard it recently, my dude, I love you. I'm proud of you. You're becoming a better artist and a better filmmaker every day, dude. Keep that shit up. Great job, dude. Great fucking job. Keep doing you, my dude. I'm proud of you. Proud to be friends with you. The world's a better place because you're in it, my guy. All right, y'all. This is going to be the last drawing of the evening. Thank you for being here. We will have a little bit of an after party over at the horizontal stream. So if you want to catch us at the horizontal YouTube stream or the horizontal Twitch stream, we'll have a little after party convo. Be sure and like the vertical stream, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow the Twitch if you're hanging out over there. Otherwise, this will be the last drawing of the day. Let's lock in, y'all. All right, so we'll start it like we just did with Raph. If you haven't heard it today, I love you, and I'm proud of you. You're becoming a better artist and a better person every day. Keep that shit up. You know, I see it. I notice it. And I mean it. The world is a better place because you are in it. You know, we deal with conflicts so many different ways in our life. And I don't want you to forget that you have a superpower to transform this negativity into something positive. And I know, like, life is tough on the easiest of days. And I know you get conflicts from work, from school. And, you know, a lot of you are artists, or maybe you don't realize you're an artist yet, but if you end up in a chat like this, maybe it's because you got big feelings, you know? And those big feelings sometimes can be heavy. And I just want to remind you that you have this superpower to take out a sheet of paper and a pencil and just scribble on it. You know, it doesn't have to be a wonderful drawing. As a matter of fact, let it be a bad drawing. The worse, the better. You know, it doesn't have to be a drawing, but take out a sheet of paper and write a poem about how you're feeling. It doesn't even have to be about how you're feeling. It could just be random words or random scribbles. Just focus on the words, focus on the lines, focus on how you're feeling, and express yourself. Take out those feelings that you have on that sheet of paper, on that piece of art. You know, and I just want to remind you that you're not alone in those conflicts, that we're all dealing with those conflicts. And you can find a community like this. There's communities everywhere that you can share how you feel, you can share your work, you can just express yourself, and you don't have to worry about whether you're making good art or bad art. It's just about expressing yourself in a healthy way. And when you get to the end of the drawing, you'll be a better person. And I just want to remind you that that's something that you can do. I'm talking to you. You have the talent to do this. You have the skills. You have the passion. Yes, I am ambidextrous. But it's not like a natural thing. It's something that I've just kind of worked on through this style of art, you know? But I want to remind you that when you're making art, or even if you're not making art, there's two things here that I want you to remember: that art isn't the final pretty picture, you know? If art was just the final pretty picture, then art would be AI, and AI is not art. There's a thing about AI that you can never get from AI, that you always get from art, and that's the process. That's the process. When you go through the process of making art, when you make the mistakes, when you have to learn how to use a pencil, you have to learn how to use a paintbrush, you have to learn how to play a guitar, you have to learn how to write poetry. The process of making mistakes and getting better makes you a better person. It makes you a better artist. So don't run from those mistakes. Embrace those mistakes. All those mistakes stack up to be your voice. And if all you're doing is just using AI, it's like having a robot going jog for you. Sure, the robot is jogging, but you're not going to get the health benefits from a robot going jog for you. And art is the same way, and AI is the same way. Sure, you might end up with a picture that looks like art, but you're not going through the process. You're not reaping the rewards of art. You know, there's so many benefits from learning what mistakes you make and what mistakes don't matter. And if you rob yourself of learning to work within those mistakes, of learning to craft, of going through the process, it's like having that robot jog for you and expecting it to get healthier, but you're not. You want to have the process. You want to make mistakes. You want to learn what matters, what doesn't matter. You want to learn how to give yourself some grace. You want to learn how to tell yourself, I'm sorry, you know? And I think a lot of that comes from just going through the process. And I want you to remember that when you're dealing with these conflicts, when you're dealing with hard times in your life, whether it's mental health or physical health, or maybe you're just dealing with some kind of drama at work or school, wherever that conflict comes from, I want to remind you, don't take it out on yourself. Don't take it out on yourself. Don't take it out on yourself. Take it out on art. Don't take it out on your community. Don't take it out on the drywall. Don't take it out on your friends or your family. Don't take it out on the pets. Don't take it out on anything around you. Don't take it out on yourself. Take out a sheet of paper. Write a poem about it. Start a movie about it. Write a book about it. Draw a picture about it. But we all know that we have that superhero. You have that permission. You are that person. I'm proud of you. I love you. You can do it. You can be that person that's transforming negativity into positivity. You can be inspiring people. That is you. You have that. You can do that. We all can do that. You're not alone. You have this community. I love you. I'm proud of you. The world is a better place because you're in it. The world is a better place because you're in it. You. All right. Thanks for being here. Sunlip, Golden Chicken, Flag, Rosie, Mama Buckle, Caesar. Thank all of you for being here. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. I appreciate that. Hey Siri, stop the alarm. Foodwa, Hacker,
Your alarms are off.
Myrna, Loves. Appreciate y'all being here. Be sure to like the stream, sub to the channel. We'll have a little after party on the horizontals. So I'll see you there. But we're saying goodbye to the vertical. If you want to hang out the after party, click on my name and we'll still be going horizontal. We'll see you there. See you next time. Take it out on art.